Leek podcast. I'm your host, Malik Murray, aka Leek, and I'm here with my main man, Khal, the soccer extraordinaire, and we're here to talk about soccer this week on Super Weekend. Are you ready for some football? Yes, the other kind. Alright, so Khal, so tell me about what drew you to soccer and why soccer is like one of your main loves.
So growing up here in Queens, actually, my father put me into soccer right away. At a young age, was going to soccer camps at age 5. Next thing I know, fast forward, I'm competing at really high levels here in New York.
Nice.
Playing on a travel team that was ranked in the state and on the East Coast and had some national recognition.
Nice.
And somehow ended up finding myself training with the Sao Paulo Football Club in Brazil.
What?
Yeah.
Brazil had like one of the best programs in the world, and you just trained with Sao Paulo?
Yeah,
like,
so it was pretty crazy. So my team I was playing with here in New York, it was out on Long Island.
Okay.
The Ronkonkoma crew at the time.
Okay.
They somebody had seen me play in a tournament and said, hey, you should try out for the training squad in Brazil. And I was like, oh, what?
Yes.
All right. I got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So, a buddy of mine, Scott Kane, we decided to try out together, and we both made the training squad.
Nice.
And next thing you know, it was I think the summer after our junior year of high school.
Nice.
And we decided to pick up and move to Brazil for a few months. And we trained with the squad down there, and it was like an unreal experience.
That's amazing. Living in Brazil for a few months. Wow.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Did you pick up any Portuguese or anything?
Oh, for sure. That's the only way to get by.
Yeah.
Because obviously Americans get the least respect in the soccer world.
I mean, we didn't even make the World Cup this past round.
Yeah, that's another story, right?
Yeah.
But when I got down there, I said, that at least the first way I can try to earn respect is to learn the language, appreciate the culture. And so before Rosetta Stone got big, I picked up these language discs called Pimsleur, and I just picked it up right away. Was able to have some pretty decent level conversation up until a certain point. I had to tell people I'm not Brazilian, and they're like, what? And everybody blends. I blended in pretty well.
We could definitely pass with Brazilian.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a great experience. I would love to go back. It's something I would really need to do. I think.
Yeah, I would love to travel to Brazil. Like I only know 2 words: sim and obrigado.
Yeah,
that's it.
Those
are 2 good words.
Yeah, 2 important words.
Yeah, yes and thank you. So yeah, cool. So Sao Paulo, that's amazing. So, and you were traveling. Like usually people say they're traveling or they're going to from New York to Virginia, New York to New Jersey, New York to Connecticut. You're going from New York to Brazil. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Cool. So you're in Brazil, you're training and everything like that. So now let's flash forward to now. Now you're a big EPL fan, especially Chelsea, big Chelsea fan. So talk about how Chelsea's been having their ups and downs this season.
Yeah, so it's funny, being a Chelsea fan is an interesting journey. If you draw the parallels to any other sports, I'm not really sure which team you'd compare them to. Maybe in basketball, perhaps they're close to, the Spurs.
Oh, okay.
In some ways, but not the same level of consistency with management. So Chelsea fans are diehard fans.
Right.
They're super loyal to the game.
Right.
However, when it comes to management, there is no loyalty. A manager can win you a championship one year, underperform the next year, and by the 3rd year, the fans are calling for new management.
Wow.
Even though there was some track record of performance, and that's what's happening right now. So Chelsea, I think they're 5th or 6th in the EPL, and they're vying for their 4th or 5th spot because they recently had a pretty bad loss last week, but they lost 4-0 to Bournemouth, but just today they won 5-0. So that those extra points will help them carry them forward. Those are crucial points in the EPL matches.
Good.
And I think that the new manager, Mauricio Sarri, He comes from Napoli. He was a former manager in Italy.
Well, Serie A, right?
Yeah,
Serie A,
yeah. And so he, he's very vocal. And a lot of the managers that end up being a part of Chelsea are very vocal, and sometimes they say things inside and outside the locker room that bother the players and the fans. And
it kind of reminds me of like Jose Mourinho, even though he's in Man U.
Yeah, well, he just left. He just got canned. So it's the same exact thing with people. They'll bring you in, and if the players don't like you and the fans, berate you on Twitter, next thing you know, you may not have a job. So yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So who are like the star players in Chelsea? Because I started following Man U because I'm a casual soccer fan, so I'm still saying soccer. That shows how much of a football fan I am. So I've known Man U because they've been like the most popular team, like the most branded teams. I know like Wayne Rooney and Pogba were over there. Who's like some of the big stars like all time from Chelsea?
Chelsea, you have Didier Drogba, you have Frank Lampard. There's some really big names that have helped to carry the team forward. They've won several championships in the EPL, several tournament cups. Right now, I think some of the biggest stars are Eden Hazard.
Oh yeah.
You have David Luiz. You have Pedro. And right now, a lot of the team has changed just recently. So just similar like the basketball or football, there was a transfer window.
Okay.
And since January 2nd up until the end of January, around 10 players end up getting transferred or put on loan.
Oh wow.
And the composition of the team has changed a little bit. But right now, some of the standouts and other than those I mentioned are also N'Golo Kante, who was on the French national team that won the most recent World Cup.
Oh yeah, they were stacked, that team.
Yeah.
She was stacked.
For sure.
Yeah,
for
with Pogba.
Yeah.
Pogba and the guy looks like Isaiah Thomas. The new Isaiah Thomas.
Mbappe.
Yeah, Mbappe.
Yeah, he's a young player. They say he might be like the next Pele.
He's really fast. He's like really fast.
Yeah.
Like how old is he? Like 17?
I think he's 19.
19. Wow.
Yeah, 19, 20. Yeah, he's.
Wow, he's a baby.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a baby.
He's doing big things.
He's doing big things. Did he have like a hat trick in the World Cup?
I think he might have. I think he might have scored the most goals, or he might have tied like a crazy record for the youngest player to score the most goals in a World Cup.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like you see them running up and down the pitch.
I see you running soccer terminology.
Yeah, running up and down the pitch. Okay, got that one right. I'm wearing my Barca kit. Yeah. So I'm used to seeing guys running up down the pitch. But then Mbappe just like separates himself from the whole field. Like he's just like zooming back and forth like Speedy Gonzalez, and like it's just mind blowing how fast he is.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. So like, when I think about Chelsea specifically, another player that's like really quick on the field is Eden Hazard.
Okay.
He gets subbed in. If he's in his natural role as a midfielder, he displaces everybody because he's all over the place.
Wow.
And when you're a player like that who just displaces people, puts them out of their position, it ends up making them very difficult to guard.
Yeah.
So that's what you end up seeing with players like Mbappe and some of the other young players that are workhorses on the field.
Right. And like, if I'm not mistaken, the soccer field is much larger than the football field. Am I right?
Actually, it's not that much different. I think the width varies, but the length is essentially the same. Around 100 yards.
Yeah.
So,
It's amazing. Like they're running like literally like nonstop, like from one side of the field to the other side of the field. It's just like it really speaks to endurance.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I remember in high school, there's something called the Cooper test, and in order to make the varsity team, you had to run 2 miles in under 14 minutes, which is a regular sort of standard. But I know in college, I think you have to run that within 12 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2 6-minute miles. So you've got to have the endurance because I think they say on average you run 2 miles within a soccer game.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. I definitely like see like in the corner like certain soccer games you'll see like distances of the miles ran by the players.
Yeah.
Who's the star from Croatia? The guy with the long hair. But cause I'm thinking about people running and I like see him running.
He just won the Ballon d'Or. I'm blanking on his name right now.
It's like Pilicic.
Something like that.
Look it up.
I should know this. You can just ask Siri if you got your iPhone.
Oh, I got
you
a
got
Droid.
Boo. Hey Siri, who's the star soccer player from Croatia?
Oh, Luka Modric.
There you go.
Android wins again.
Luka Modric, you quick.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Oh man. So yeah, so Chelsea is awesome. Well, not now, but they're working on it.
They're good. Yeah, they're good. They're right now it's uncertain whether or not Sarri will continue as a manager because the loss that they just had was something that hadn't happened since like the 90s. And right now he's playing a lot of people out of their natural position. So N'Golo Kante, who is a midfielder, he's displacing him in his position. Same thing with Eden Hazard, who's typically a midfielder, he's playing up forward. And so the struggle that Chelsea has had in year over year is not having a solid, consistent striker. Maybe they've had some issues, injury issues, maybe off the field issues, and so they haven't been able to maintain that striker. Now, I think Sarri is trying to address that in some ways and put some players that have scoring ability in different roles. However, it doesn't seem as though some of the players in their new roles are producing as they would normally. So it's sort of bringing into question whether or not he's doing the right thing or his approach is right. And even in some of the games, the fans are super vocal. You hear chants saying, "You don't know what you're doing." so it's interesting, and it upsets a lot of the fans. But somehow we're still, in the top 5, a competitive team. We're winning tournaments. We stand to qualify for the Champions League next year, so long as we continue. However, it's all up to debate whether or not management will continue to be the same, within Chelsea.
So the Champions League, that's the UEFA, that's where they play like all the different leagues across Europe. So that's Serie A, La Liga, and Bundesliga. And is there another one?
No, it's not just all the European leagues.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the league that comes out of Portugal as well.
Okay.
Right.
I like saying Bundesliga.
Yeah.
Bundesliga.
Yeah.
Like Dartman and who else is in there?
RB Blitzkrieg. That's like sort of the new team.
That's a dope name.
Yeah,
Blitzkrieg.
I think it's the Red Bulls team.
Okay.
Yeah, so like apparently they've like come up the ranks. There's the Turkish league as well that I think participates in the UEFA Cup. So it's
Fenerbahce. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I think so. Usually like the top team that comes out of there is Galatasaray.
Okay.
I think Didier Drogba ended up playing there for a little while after his time at Chelsea.
Nice. So we briefly spoke about the World Cup. So like, who were you rooting for in this past World Cup? Because the Americans didn't make it.
Yeah, so usually it's the U.S. So long as they're in it.
Yeah.
But this year, I'm a big Messi fan.
Right.
And I wanted to see Argentina, go forward. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Right.
I found something on the web about.
Oh. the fans are listening.
Yeah, we got new viewers, the fans.
But so right now, it wasn't Argentina, not because they ended up getting knocked out. After they got knocked out, I was like, all right, the next team in line is Germany, and if it's not Germany, then usually I support all the African teams.
Right.
But as good as they did this year, they still fell short of expectations. A lot of the teams. I know that Egypt was expected to have gone far with
Mohamed Salah.
But I know he was injured.
Yeah, grew so much shoulder injury.
Yeah,
right?
It was a pretty bad injury.
Yeah.
I think after that I was like, all right, I gotta rethink who I really want to support in this World Cup. And then I realized Team France.
Yeah, Team
France
France
was something else.
Yeah.
Team France was something else.
Mbappe, Pogba. Who else was on France?
They just had a stacked squad, a whole bunch of super young players. A lot of them with, you know, I guess origins from, you know, a lot of African nations. You know, many of them are family to African immigrants.
Right.
So, you know, there's like some political, you know, sort of controversy about whether or not they were really Team Africa or not. But you know, it was something else to watch. It was a really interesting World Cup this year. You know, anybody could have taken home the cup. You know, it was, you know, even Russia was a contender.
Yeah, they were.
Russia, who usually doesn't have, you know, a strong presence on the international stage. They advanced pretty well this year, or this most recent World Cup, and they left an impression, I think, for everybody.
They really did. Because when I think of Russia, I think of hockey. So I don't really think of Russia with soccer. So it was like, that was really earth-shattering to me.
Yeah, and then you know France played Croatia in the final, and I think it might have been Croatia and Russia before that.
It was,
right?
It was.
And so, you know, it was interesting because they were the host nation, and I think in the last World Cup before that, when they played in Brazil, you know, Brazil was the host nation and didn't do too well.
No, Deutschland gave them a real blitzkrieg.
You
get all the puns here with Sports League. But yeah, they really gave it to them.
Yeah, they did.
I remember watching it at my old job, and it was like a lunch break, and we were like watching it on the TV screen. Yeah, lunch break. And then it was just almost laughable because like Germany came up and got every single goal they wanted. It was 8 zips, something like that.
It was something crazy.
Embarrassing.
It was terrible for a host team, and you know, Brazil is known to be the mecca for soccer.
Yes, dominant program team.
And even though, you know, they had a lot of young players, but apparently they just, you know,
Neymar, who's the guy from Real Madrid with the big hair, the fro.
More something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But they just didn't produce, and it was hopefully they produce, you know, sometime in the next World Cup in Qatar, which is in 2022, which is kind of crazy because I think that whole setup, it was very controversial for Qatar to have won the World Cup bid because, you know, you're in the desert. Usually the World Cup is in the middle of the summer, so how do you accommodate for the heat, being in the desert and all, you know, and the level of play. You know, these people are, you know, there are going to be health issues that may come up and arise, and I think a lot of the new stadiums are going to be air conditioned.
Okay, good.
To accommodate for that.
That's good.
You know, most of the countries that end up hosting the World Cup don't have the infrastructure to host them, and so it ends up being like a big issue for a lot of the teams. I think it's the same thing in Russia. Like, you know, think about the Olympics. There was, you know, in Sochi, a lot of people were saying that there's some issues with like plumbing and you know, all types of other things, and whether or not, you know, the country can accommodate you know, just all these people converging on one place at one time, and not having enough stadiums or the appropriate facilities. But you know, they made it work. Yeah. They made it work, and you know, I think it ended up being a good show. A lot of people really enjoyed, you know, watching the Olympics.
Yeah, that's true. And then back to the World Cup. Like, I remember '98, and I think it was 2002. Like, the Reggae Boys and the Soca Warriors were like in the World Cup, and they were killing it. But then now, in recent years, I haven't seen any of the Caribbean nations. Yeah, so represent.
You know, it's interesting. You know, I think it's the group that they play in. It's a very competitive group. You have the U.S., you have Mexico, all the Central and South American teams, and coming from the Western Hemisphere. So it's very easy for them to get crowded out because they are some of the smallest nations to, you know, that don't maybe have as deep of a talent pool as some of the other countries.
Right.
So you may have, you know, somebody that has roots perhaps that comes from Jamaica or Trinidad or someplace else, but they're so high quality caliber, they end up deciding, you know what, I'm gonna play for the U.S. because I think, you know, my shot is better there.
Right.
And so you end up seeing a lot of players that, you know, have roots in those places, end up playing against, you know, their country of where they have ties to, and then beating them, and the next thing you know, they're advancing. So so it's tough for them, you know, to advance. But I forget. I think there was Tunisia, right? Tunisia qualified for the World Cup this past go around, and some really other small nations as well. And so it begs the question, like, whether or not, you know, some of the smaller Caribbean nations can continue to be competitive again, and sort of rise to where they once were.
Right.
You know, I think it was back in like the 1974 World Cup. Haiti ended up playing Italy and ended up scoring the first goal, and ended up being like a huge deal. You know?
Nice.
And you know, there are others, you know, similar stories like that where some of the smaller Caribbean nations either upset or really shock the world with some of their level of play.
Okay. Cool. So let's talk about a recent. I'm going to try to parallel two sports here. Recently, there was a trade between Porzingis from the Knicks to the Mavericks. I wasn't in my office balled up crying. I wasn't doing that at all. I would never do that. That's just ridiculous. But like, how does trades and how do transfers work in the soccer? Because apparently, don't they, like, you can go from one league to the next? Is that how that works?
Yeah, you can go from one league to the next. Most of the leagues, they try to align themselves very closely within a transfer window. So like in the EPL, you know, January is your transfer window from, you know, the first of the month to the last day of the month.
Okay.
You try to get all your transfers in. I know that Chelsea recently picked up an American national, Christian Pulisic. From Dortmund.
Yeah.
But he's still under contract, and he's not playing with the team until, I think, in the summer.
Okay.
But you know, Chelsea's moved around a lot of their pieces, and you know, they picked up some players like Higuain. From, I think he's playing at Real Madrid.
Okay.
And they've got rid of a lot of their marquee players like Victor Moses, Morata, you know, Alvaro Morata, and it's just a way. It's like a business and sort of management call. So in soccer, if you transfer a player, they have the option to come back.
Okay.
Right. So they're on loan, you know, technically. Whereas maybe if somebody in the NBA gets traded, they're traded.
Yeah,
they're gone.
Yeah, they're going to Dallas.
They're gone
trading
to Dallas.
in their Tims for cowboy boots.
Yeah. So, you know, in soccer, you'll see players come back. You know, David Luiz is a good example of that. He got put on loan for a while, and then he came back, and you know, the team was and the fans were really happy to have him back because he is a strong player. And it's just interesting, you know, and it being a business decision, some, you know, clubs will pay top dollar to get, you know, a player on loan for a certain period of time. But I think this is like a really interesting year for soccer in general, because a lot of players in the MLS had actually been picked up by other leagues in Europe.
Oh, wow. So a player from Atlanta United who just won the MLS Cup is going over to Europe now too?
Yeah. And I think it just speaks to how the MLS has come a long way.
Yeah.
You know, what has happened in recent years is that, you know, a player from the EPL who's had a tremendous amount of success, but maybe they're up there in age, nobody wants to pay them big sums of money to continue playing, so they end up just going to the U.S. You know,
like Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Yeah, exactly. Him, you know, in LA Galaxy, you have Thierry Henry, who played for the Red Bulls. You know, you have David Beckham, who came here. So
Wayne Rooney's at DC United, right?
Yeah, and Wayne Rooney's at DC United. Didier Drogba ended up playing for, I think, Montreal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you have, like, you know, this sort of culture of, all right, and I'm going to go into early retirement in the MLS. But now the opposite's happening. You know, these players are competing at super high levels in the MLS. They're being recognized, and people in Europe are seeing value in bringing them to play from the MLS to the EPL or Bundesliga or some other league. So it's
Bundesliga.
Some other yeah, it's good to see. It's good to see.
Christian Pulisic, right? They're saying he's like probably the best U.S. soccer player in the.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
They're saying he's young.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Adams is another guy who's very young, and their contributions have been yet to be really well recognized across the soccer sphere. But I think they'll have something to show us, in this next round in the World Cup for sure.
Cool. So a lot of people like to talk about their Rushmore of basketball players. We don't have to do just 4. If you can give me, I guess, your top 10 soccer players all time.
Top 10, all right.
You don't have to rank them. If you want to rank them, that would be more fun. But if you want to just give me your top 10, and then if you feel like ranking them afterwards, fine.
Sure. So, I think watching soccer at an early age, the first person you always hear is of Pele. Right. He's
Brazil in the house.
He's the godfather. But when you think about more recently, I think Beckham comes to mind, Didier Drogba comes to mind.
Right.
Some of the old school Brazilian soccer players, Ronaldinho.
Yes.
Right, Robinho, Cafu, Kaká.
Kaká was on Barca, right?
Yeah, he was on. I think he was on Barca for a little bit. Who else was there? Thierry Henry, right? An unreal player. Ruud van Nistelrooy from Man U. He was, definitely something special to watch. Rio Ferdinand also on Man U. He had some issues on and off the field, but he was a very impressive player to see. His contributions. Eden Hazard, Lukaku.
Oh yeah, Lukaku.
A lot of the players on the Belgium squad are something else. So I'm not sure how many I just listed just then, but I think when I think of if all my favorite players were all on one team, a lot of them came from Brazil.
Yeah.
A lot of them came up in the same sort of cohort or class at their same time. And I think that's at the time when Brazil was just unstoppable and they were winning back-to-back World Cups. And you'd see those crazy Nike commercials where Ronaldinho just like hitting the post.
Oh
right?
yeah,
hitting the crossbar consistently.
Yeah.
And you're just like, is this like CGI or is this real life? Because this is just insane.
Right.
It didn't look real, but he was doing it like it was nothing. And and it goes to show him playing those games, like him just crossing people up left and right, or just bending the ball into the goal on those free kicks or whatever. His level of play was just insane.
Yeah. One of my favorite plays in soccer too is I'll give you my top 10 favorite players. Footballers, excuse me, sorry guys. My top 10 footballers are Pele, number 1. Now and after that, you could just rank it however you feel. But Thierry Henry, Didier Drogba, Ronaldinho. I like Balotelli. Who else? Messi, of course. I don't like Ronaldo because it's a rivalry, so I'm never gonna pick him ever. He's a fire.
Cristiano Ronaldo, you gotta put some respect on his name, right? How many awards has he won? He's gotta be the top 10. He's gotta be in your top 10.
Fine.
Yeah, he's gotta be in your top 10.
Neymar, Beckham. Where am I? Is that 5? I lost count.
Yeah, it's easy to lose count. Right?
Yeah, I lost count. There's just so many legends. Who else? I gotta give some love to Maradona too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
some love to him. Who else? I like Lukaku. Lukaku's really good. He's a beast.
He's a big dude.
He is a big dude.
He's a big dude, yeah.
Big dude. Pogba's nice. Mbappe, that dude is a monster. He looks like Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
And the way he gets buckets, the way Isaiah Thomas gets buckets is the same way Mbappe gets goals too. So it's incredible. I want to give a goalie some love too, Tim Howard.
Tim Howard.
Yeah, Tim Howard.
Yeah, I think he's retiring this year, actually.
Yeah, he was in the EPL too.
He was.
Really?
Yeah, he was in the Premier League for a while, for a long while.
So yeah, those are my favorite all-time footballers. Yeah, a lot of them were current, but a lot of them are still legendary too. So yeah. So speak to me about street soccer. This is something that you're working on and coaching. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a board member for a nationally recognized nonprofit called Street Soccer USA, and they're a very dynamic organization, but they're most well known for their annual Times Square street soccer tournament.
Nice.
Every summer it's held in Times Square, New York.
Nice.
So what happens is, the way their program works is they make soccer access oriented.
Okay.
So when you think about a lot of like travel sports, if you're a parent, you want to send your kid to play in the most competitive leagues. It costs money. It's very expensive. Shoes, bus tickets, food, all that stuff.
Hotels.
Equipment, hotels. It adds up. And what this does is it allows people, kids, adults in underserved communities to play for free. And it allows them to also compete in various levels. So, as a board member, I'm responsible for raising awareness of the organization, as well as soliciting donations and helping to raise money for their cause. And so, year over year, they keep breaking records. And
nice.
It's really great to see how the organization has grown. They're active in Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, in Manhattan, and every person who I've introduced to this organization is like fallen in love with it, just because their story is just so great. You hear about how they run leagues in homeless shelters, and give folks that are looking to get themselves off their feet or in a bad place something to enjoy, or underserved communities in low-income areas where kids have the opportunity to play just like they do in some of the wealthier neighborhoods here in the city, and they're able to compete, at sometimes very competitive levels. And so it's just great to see. If you're in Times Square in New York this summer, look up the dates. Yeah, I'd encourage you to check it out.
Oh, cool. Cool, that is great. That is fantastic. Playing in Times Square must be having a ball.
Oh, it's a blast. It's unreal. They usually get like MLS players to come out.
Wow.
A lot of both from the women and men's national team.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. That is great. I mean, the women's team wins gold medals all the time. Wins the trophy all the time.
Yeah. They're it's so weird because the women's national team for soccer is very consistent in their gamesmanship. Right. Winning the World Cup. Right. Being very competitive in the men's. Yeah, the men's kind of fall short. They kind of fall short.
Yeah. That is hilarious. Yeah. They just won it last time around.
Yeah, I think they did. And I'm not sure where they play this time. I think they actually play in France. Okay. I think they play in France. Is it this summer? I think it might be this summer actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that might be something worth checking out if you're in Europe.
Definitely. All right, Khal, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And that was it for the Super Sunday edition. And that was it for the Super. Blooper. Yes,
Blooper alert. His show called Sports Leek. I think you forgot it, but I can't tell you what it is. So y'all tune in again. I'll fill in for him just in case.
You can catch us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and SoundCloud Sports Leek. Thank you.